this isn't really about we20, I don't think, but do people know what it actually is? Because that will probably help give you some context. Basically, it was a campaign, or you could call it an online platform, which was launched alongside the G20 summit last week. And we20 allows anyone to have their own G20 summit, and it networks all the results online so that you get a real sort of locally produced network of economic recovery plans. That was the idea anyway. But I want to go back to kind of phase one and where we actually got the idea from, and how we just progressed the online campaign through. So we're very much organising without an organisation, as Clay Shirky might say. Well, the idea went all the way back. I've got a timeline down here to kind of show you the campaign throughout time. It actually went back to the Washington summit of the G20, which happened mid-November last year. And that kind of flashed up as a big event, and not long afterwards Gordon Brown announced that there was going to be a follow-up summit in London, which I thought was an interesting opportunity to do something with the internet and really get people involved collaboratively with this economic recovery process. So not long after the Washington event, I hosted a meeting at a conference at Nesta. It was an unconference actually, so kind of breakout session, so really easy just to basically quietly launch something there. And the session was called Bretton Woods 2.0. That was because at the time of the Washington summit, there were a lot of people saying that the economic reforms going on, the global system, could be like another Bretton Woods. Bretton Woods being the conference and process of establishing the World Bank and IMF predecessors after World War II. So anyway, I called this event Bretton Woods 2.0, and we really just chatted about how we could use the internet and get people together around this G20 summit happening. And just had a really lively discussion. A few people afterwards said, let's take this forward, so we did. So we essentially started using social media straight away. We set up a Ning group to get people involved, and that quickly just snowballed. I'll just introduce you quickly to a couple of other people here actually before I carry on. We've got Phil, who's one of our lead developers on we20.org, and Anna, who's really been one of the creative minds behind the design of the actual website. So Anna actually came in quite late, but Phil was in the original meeting, so he's been involved in all these different layers of social media that we've gone through to actually get to the end product of the campaign, if you like. So this was the initial Ning group set up late last year. Then that led to another meeting again at Nesta happening early January, when it was really a brainstorming session when we were looking at, right, there's the G20 summit, we've got 3 months to produce something with the net, really get everyone involved collaboratively. And we had all sorts of different ideas, discussed the best ways to influence the powers that be, you know, a march is better, or, you know, throwing flowers, or, you know, or whatever. And we just came up with the idea of having events where everyone could get together and networking them. And we had marketing minds and branding people and events people at this meeting, policy people. And it really was this diverse mixture of people that we got together that meant that we could hatch this idea, which ultimately the success of the whole campaign has stemmed from the fact that it's a very simple idea to just have your own G20 meeting. A lot of people were interested in the G20, although when we came up with this idea in January, you know, 75% of the population didn't even know who the G20 were. Now, probably 95% of them do know who they are. So at this meeting, we came up with the idea for we20. And at that stage, we had absolutely nothing. We literally had a group of people, half of whom sort of weren't sure what was going on, but there were a core of us who really wanted to do something. So we started kind of, well, first of all, Nesta helped us. They let us use some office space every Tuesday evening, so we had something to sort of congregate and move forward. And we started looking at actually branding this thing. So got a designer in. We thought, you know, we need to get the core idea of the actual campaign and really put something there that people can understand. So the designer, this is actually a guy called Ben Curzon who works with One. which is Bono's charity, and he came up with these various designs representing different things which he felt could embody what we20 was. So you've got the kind of tick of the financial markets and the hand in the air. Then that circle, just I guess quite emblematic of just quite a strong symbol. But a lot of us, I mean, there was massive disagreement. We didn't have any sort of leader, and there was some people saying they preferred the round one. I think on the whole, people preferred the one with the hand, but we had sort of artistic directors whose view was that it was a little bit ghoulish and we needed to change it a little bit. And we wanted something very neutral, so we've just created this campaign around a very neutral idea that we're not trying to push a particular viewpoint. We wanted all stakeholders to get involved. So in the end, we got rid of the ghoulish hand and turned it into more of an abstract hand. And really, once we had this brand, I mean, I suppose just creating the symbol of what we were trying to do was just really important in focusing people's minds on, right, we do actually have something that we can work with here. So while it was a campaign, it was also quite a simple name that people immediately liked, so it helped to carry it through. So I guess what I'm trying to stress is just the core kernel of an idea was just really important to carrying this, and made our lives a lot easier because you tell people about it and they were immediately like, wow, that's great. And we quickly got people interested. But there's a difference between getting people interested and actually getting people to work really hard to make something happen. So that was kind of our next phase of organising without the organisation. And that basically involved a lot of coffee, and we didn't even have any offices. So I remember just running around on sort of Sunday mornings trying to find places to work in London with a bunch of people who didn't have an office, and it's surprisingly difficult to find free Wi-Fi. But we did find it eventually, and we'd come together on Sundays and just start putting things together. And you'll notice in the timeline here, we're not moving very quickly here, we're sort of stuck in February. But we're still using various bits of software to actually create this neutral idea and create a package around we20. So this is a program called OmniGraffle, which one of our, I suppose you call him designer, Luke Nicholson from Moore Associates was using. Really just brainstorming different ideas which can then be turned into an actual practical website. So we knew we wanted to use a real core website at we20.org to bring different people together. So this is an entity relationship. It's an entity relationship, as it says.
Entity relationship diagram, yeah.
So what does this show us?
Well, actually, that's getting very geeky. That's actually showing you the relationship between the entities or the tables in the database behind the scenes.
So yeah, we started structuring the database quite early on, just because we knew that we wanted to make the information as useful as we can. Because really we saw we20 even back before we had anything as a long-term project that could possibly go alongside the G20. So we wanted to make sure the actual data in our database of people's ideas from G20 meetings was structured in a way that it wasn't just we weren't going to turn around in 6 months and go, this is just useless, we can't use this for anything. So we were really careful about, even from structuring the database, we were really lucky to get someone involved who, Thomas Barker was our back-end database developer and just did a great job. So again, still stuck in February, but while we were looking at the actual back-end technical design of the database, we were still working on the brand and coming up with loads of strap lines. So just brainstorming things and trying to keep it neutral. You just got to be really careful with how you use your strap lines. Like, we didn't want to seem like it was just some sort of mass movement of, of any sort of partisan nature. So even things like standing together or, there were other ones there that just, we looked at them and just thought these just aren't neutral enough for the brand we're trying to create. But again, just a simple statement that tells you what we're doing, host your own G20 meeting, just stuck. But anyway, these were all filed, and we used Basecamp, which is an online collaboration tool. So all of this is just archived away, and lots of information that we gradually built up was put aside. And I actually thought we weren't going to use any of this, and it was all a waste of time. But it wasn't. we also had people doing mission statements, and again, we didn't really have a leader, so we had sort of 3 different mission statements, half of which were totally unsuitable. But we kind of gradually just filtered through the ideas, making it neutral,